today, and it's time to have someone on screen. Ta-ta-da, a one, a two, a three. Bring it up for Anil Meghani. Hey, Anil. Yeah, awesome. Let's rock it, man. Anil
Hi,
Meghani.
Khushboo. Yeah, go
Absolutely.
ahead.
Let me give you a quick introduction. I know you're amazing at your own introduction, but let me do the honors today and then you can add in. So, Anil is the co founder of Beyond 99 and the founder of Salt and Pepper. Indeed, we have come in together to share with you some sales and marketing tricks and hacks because I call him the sales guy and I being the marketing girl. It brings in a lot of synergy and balance, and we have a vision to be able to align organizations with these two departments and make it one and focus on just one thing, which is growth. Isn't it, Anil?
Of course, Khushboo. I think that's one of the most important thing as a salesperson. I would say we all have to focus on the growth, which is the sole objective, and especially with 2019, 2020, the way it has gone by. I think 2021 is all be going all everything is going to be about growth, growth, and growth.
Absolutely. So, guys, get started to pick up some great things about traditional sales and how you can, what is it that modern sales means today. So before we get into how you do it, it's important to first know what you need to do it, because just jumping into action is not something we are looking at indeed at this point of time. So let's get started, guys. I'm going to share
Yes.
one quick screen
But before
first.
that, Kush, since you talked about that drill, and I said, why should I be leaving behind? You talked about which country do you represent, and what is that one thing which you like about that country? And since the subject of the day is about sales, let me take this opportunity of saying I come from Singapore, and anybody who wants to do business in Southeast Asia needs to be in Singapore. The only reason because all the decision makers, your influencers, all are sitting in Singapore. Eventually, your executions may happen somewhere in any remote part of the Southeast Asia, but most of the decision makers are sitting in Singapore, and that's why I love this place.
Guys, I'm sitting in Malaysia and I love the country and I love the decision makers here. So Anil, let's not make it Singapore versus Malaysia. Trust me on that. People are gonna kill us. So I'll just ask you. Let's not get into that.
No, what I
Absolutely
meant by yeah, it's the hub of the business basically.
no,
Yeah.
no doubt on that. Singapore is actually the Asia's commercial capital in a manner, and we do understand the value it brings in, and as other countries. So, no hard feelings for other countries, guys. We love all of them, and I understand Anil is a little biased towards Singapore, like I am for Malaysia, so it's okay, it doesn't matter. But indeed, Anil, do you think we got to ask them about the shark side of it, or let's jump into the traditional side?
No, I think we should probably start with the shark side of it because let's make it a little more engaging. Because I personally believe that if you are in sales, you have to be a shark. And just want to kind of understand from the audience out here, good, lovely people out here. Uh, when I say in sales, you have to be a shark. What are those adjectives which comes top of your mind, which resonates with shark?
Absolutely. And guys, I will have a little bit, because we have multiple audiences who comes from very different background and may not even focus on sales. So at this point of time, guys, I would like to bring your attention to something before you go all out to answer it. But if you know the answer, please go ahead and push it out in the comment section. Shark is a mindset of an entrepreneur who wants to go all out and make it happen. Shark is a mindset of a hustler who want to win it. And shark is a mindset of every single individual who is fighting the battle today to make it happen the way they want it to be. So do not even think that it's only about sales, but indeed, the sales guys, because they are the frontliners for the companies, they have to have the best foot front and at the same time a mindset of a shark. So guys, tell us, what exactly do you think, what comes to your mind when you hear about the sharks? And guys, in the comment section, shark has so many keywords to associate with. But with this, meanwhile, when you're typing in the comment section, I would love to start. with the traditional side of it, Anil, because I think that's so damn important for people to pick up
Sure.
where sales was and where it should be today. So, of course, I'm going to put in a quick clip on the screen, guys, before we go further, because I believe that plays a very integral role. And love
Sure.
you, Malar, for the wonderful comment. Thank you so much. And let's quickly look to the screen, guys. Here we are. So, indeed, it's the first step here is about unlearning and the old school methods as you see prospecting, pitching, negotiating, and closing. And I'm going to bring us back on the screen, guys. Do keep it up in your mind, this visual, and let's get started. Anil, we have always been talking about prospecting, we've always been talking about pitching, negotiating, and closing. So what's your take here?
So basically, this is the old school because I could call myself as a veteran, or you could probably call me as an oldie. Where when I started my sales, and this was something which I was taught by my peers, by my superiors, and by some great training instructors. They said sales is all about prospecting, pitching, presentation, negotiations, and closing. And I think that still also is there, but I think over the time when things have changed for us, we've transited from the old school to the modern school. We've seen how we've transited from the offline world to the online world, and that's where the modern sales comes into picture. And let me give you a stats to lovely people out here. 68% of the people, okay, 68% of the B2B customers actually research online before going and actually speaking to a real sales guy. And this is from Forrester. So it's a real stats which is there. So the world has migrated, world has moved, shifted from the offline world to the online world. And of course, though this principles of sales remain, but we need to kind of shift ourselves to the modern sales attitude or mindset which is there. Yes, Kush, you were saying something.
Yeah, absolutely, guys, because it isn't at the end of the day, probably your objective can be negotiating, can be prospecting. But now the days have become, you know, I was always earlier in my career, I always used to run away from the word sales. I mean, it just feels like, is someone just being too salesy? And I'm like, I don't want to buy, man. Please, can you just, and that is the mindset that we want to change,
Change.
sales are the people who actually drive growth alongside, of course, marketing. I'm not saying they're the only guys, but they play a role there. But why do people run away from them? And one of the core reasons why people are running away is because they are missing out on one key element, which is themselves. They are human at the end of the day, and they're trying to sell to a human at the end of the day. And when we bring in words like prospecting and negotiating, it just seems like some theoretical process that the person has to go to get to the closing of the particular project that they have. So we came up with something amazing, which is humanizing sales with the
Good.
modern sales technique. And I'm going to show you guys how exactly are we humanizing sales for the organizations for you guys today live. And trust me, this will be the first time that I'm bringing this content to you guys, because this one is just for our B2B clients. I mean, the ones which we coach and consult, we only share it with them. And today we thought, let's bring it for all of you, indeed. So here it is, how you can humanize your sales in the modern way. And we're going to talk about each very soon. So here it is, guys. You change from prospecting, pitching, negotiating, closing to customer communication, challenge, and competition. Excuse me, competition. So let's get started one by one, very quickly, just touching base on what is it, how exactly prospecting. Forgive me, guys. This is the pro and con of sitting at the best place at home. So indeed, guys, let's hear it. So Anil, it was prospecting, and today it has become customers. Wha- I do understand the difference, but it'll be nice if you can share it with the audiences as well.
No, so you put it right. These are the few new I would say, words for those old traditional methods. So that's why I mentioned those methods have not gone, because those will remain. But in the digital world, we need to kind of look at the whole shift has moved from prospecting. Whom are we prospecting? We need to understand customer, and customer remains at the core. And that's why these four C's are mentioned in the modern sales, which we have evolved for our clients. And that's the approach what we kind of follow. So it's all about the customer. We always heard those statements like customer is the king, customer should be at the center of your product roadmaps, customer should be at the center of whatever you're thinking. So eventually, whatever we are prospecting in our real life or in the traditional old traditional sales, it has to be around the customer. And as I mentioned today, customer is much more diligent. Customer understands much more beyond us, and today he knows about your product much more better than probably even few of your sales guys. So
That's a
prospecting is all about customer.
and that's a problem I think the organization must not have. The customer shouldn't know more than the sales guys. The sales guys should know the in and out of the product. But at the same time, guys, the reason over here we are touching on customer is because when you go from a prospecting mindset, you go from a mindset of a sales guy, and you don't think about your customer. That's the whole reason today the world has changed, and it's reason being humanization coming in. So Anil, let's talk about communications now.
So communication always has been the core. And whenever I speak to a lot of sales team and myself in my early stages of my career, I always to find that communication is one of the most important part, and that's translates to the traditional method as pitching and presentation. How do you go and pitch? And the whole world is moved from offline to online. So your pitchings typically now would be on the Zoom calls, on the Google Meets. Okay, so how do you kind of manage that? How do you present yourself? How do you kind of pause? Because since now you're not in the offline manner, you are more on the online side of it. It's very important for you to kind of understand those gestures from your client, take those right cues. I've seen most of the sales guys sometimes going off the screen on the video. You as a salesperson have to be on the Zoom call or on a Google Meet whenever you're interacting with your customer, because it's very important for you to be available. So communication is all about the way you present and pitch, and this could be yourself, your product, or your services which is there. So that's the second C.
Absolutely. And Anil, I do remember we were having a chat about the hey and the hi thing. As
Hi.
a millennial, and Anil is okay.
Oh, you can always call me a millennial, don't worry.
Of course, millennial with a white beard. So indeed, so I've always, as a millennial, I've always thought that hey has been a word which if we use it, it's fine, but we have to be a little more corporate and we have to stick with hi because we're young and they will think that we're not. I mean, we might not be ready for the corporate world or so. But we and you were having a very good chat on this, that how important it is to be able to now go
Yes,
casual and more humanized as an approach. No more are the days where you go hi. I mean, we are not talking about the email language. We're talking about language where you put across yourself on the
true.
chat or on LinkedIn messages, because a lot of our part of sales also includes LinkedIn as a strategy as well. What do you have to say on that,
Exactly.
Anna?
So in fact, yes, today most of the communication, apart from the calls which the sales guys would normally have with their prospects, it is also about going and approaching your clients on LinkedIn. And today we all know the 85% of the businesses of B2B happen on LinkedIn today, because that's one of the most important social platform where sales guys goes and connect. So how do you kind of communicate on those platforms? How are you sending a invite, which we of course teach it on our Killing It on LinkedIn workshop, which is currently on for a group 7, and the group 8 has very recently started. So lovely audience, anybody who wants to kind of enroll for this group 8 workshop, please do that. Coming back to the sales, so I think that's so critical for us to kind of understand how do we communicate, how do we write, how do we send our invites to our customers. I think that's very critical, because as we said, maximum business happens via LinkedIn. So you need to understand that art of how do you communicate with your clients even on LinkedIn, which is a social medium.
Absolutely. So do not think about going for a pitch. Think about communicating to your client. With this, we go
That's
to the
right.
third one. I know that I mean, the time is just tick tick, but guys, value. Are you getting value out of it? Okay, let me just ask that before we go to the third one. Are you getting value about from this conversation? Put in the word value in the comment section, because your energy is what energizes us to go longer than 30 minutes. Indeed, I mean, that's the promise we made, that it's going to be a 30 minutes live, but trust me, for the last 2 days it's not happening. So guys, tell me in the comment section if you are finding value in this conversation, and I'm excited to read all your comments. So let's go to.
And if you guys are finding value, we'll continue with this more of sales and marketing.
Absolutely, guys. So let's go to the third one, which is we're talking about negotiating, and then it comes from the challenge point of view. Over to you, Anil. Please go ahead and share with us.
So that's, I think, one of the, I've always asked this question to whenever we were doing trainings for our B2B clients, or whenever in my sales team, I've always managed those. So one of the biggest challenge after prospecting is negotiation, because you will do a great prospecting, you will do a great pitching and presentation, but really, how do you kind of negotiate? And that's where the challenges come in. Because during negotiation phase of the sales cycle, you could probably see a challenge on the product side of it. He may not find your product to be valuable. It could be on your company side of it, which means they would say, oh, how many years you've been in existence, which other clients do you service? Or it could be about the price as a challenge, because that's very critical. And that's why we always talk about this, which most of the sales guys would know, of the model called BANT, which is about budget, which is about authority, which is about the need, and it's about the timeline. So these are the challenges could come across the four, which is across BANT, which is called BANT. And yes, you all need to be ready for that. And that's why we call it challenges.
Absolutely, guys. And if you want your negotiation challenges to be more smoother, then understanding your client is the first process. Get to know them inside out. Get to know them even outside of LinkedIn. Like what do they do and how do they? Little spying is nice, just to understand that. So that's a secret, guys. Don't say it to anyone. But indeed, the idea is little spying is nice to just understand who they are from the inside and outside, so that you can be having a stronger pitch in your challenge round. We go to the last one out here, which is the last C, Anil, and let's talk about competition, which is related to closing as well.
Oh, whenever I hear about competition, I think some of the people get goosebumps, but I enjoy it. I think without a competition, suppose nobody is in the monopolistic market today. I doubt even if you would enjoy getting a deal without any efforts behind it. Okay, and that's where the competition comes into picture, because that's so critical. uh, every deal would have a competitor. So very important for us to understand how your competitor is. Eventually, there are good friends from the industry, but you need to know them very, very well. You need to smell well. You need to understand in which business domain are they strong. How are they reacting to customers? Which are their head pin customers, which I call it. Like in the game of bowling, the first one is called head pin. So who are their head pin customers? Where is their strength lies? Is it in products or is it in services? So I think if you know about everything about your competition, you'll be able to get the deal. And that's the whole fun of getting the deal from three or four competitors who are around, and you are able to again manage your numbers, sales numbers for them finally.
So that was, guys, a wonderful wrap to be able to walk you down from traditional sales to modern sales.